Benchmarks closed the week with gains of 2%. Nifty Media ends as the top gaining sector for the week, while oil and gas close as the top laggards. The Sebi chairperson and husband Dhaval Butch deny all allegations in a point-by-point rebuttal made in personal capacity, call allegations false and misleading. Bajaj Housing Finance lists on Monday. Bajaj Finance, Bajaj FinServ rose up to 3% on expectations of doubling wealth. Car sales dropped by close to 2% in August compared to last year, according to data coming in from SIAM. Car makers produced more and sold less. Ford Motor set to restart its Tamil Nadu operations, Starboard to set up plant in Hosur, and a slew of MOUs signed by Tamil Nadu's Chief Minister M.K. Stalin in the US. Has Tamil Nadu got its mojo back? Supreme Court grants bail to the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal but bars him from publicly commenting on the liquor policy case. He also cannot go to the Chief Minister's office and Secretariat for signing files. Typhoon Yagi claims 233 lives in Vietnam in the aftermath as rescue workers recovered more bodies from landslide and flood-hit areas. Floodwaters in Hanoi have begun to recede, but many neighborhoods remain inundated. China approves plan to hike retirement age for the first time since 1978, aims to slow down the decline in the labor force and support economic growth. Good evening and welcome. You are watching Profit 360 on NDTV Profit. I'm Nupur Talwar Suri. Now, the Sensex and the Nifty were flat today as trading remained choppy. And NDTV Profit's Harsh Saitha is joining us with a roundup of how the markets fared.
Now, while the Nifty has closed flat this Friday afternoon, we are seeing good traction overall. So, nothing to be disappointed about whatsoever. It's closed with a slight negative bias. We were just about 30-odd points lower in trade today versus yesterday. But the Nifty Bank, which is on the left, you'll see 1/3% higher. So good traction seen on the Nifty Bank. And the other piece also that was gaining was the Nifty IT. So those two heavyweights in terms of sectoral indices has done very well in trade today at least. Let's pull out the heat map, see what within IT and banks did well. And there you go. You have Wipro, which was up around 3.4%. But outside of that, Tech Mahindra saw good traction as well. HCL Tech has done very, very well. LTI Mindtree was up 1/5% thereabouts as well. But it was the financials which really did well in trade. You saw the Bajaj twins doing well. You saw IndusInd Bank and Axis contributing. The heavyweights not doing much. Look at where a Kotak is, look at where an HDFC Bank is, and look at where a Reliance is. So therefore, some of those not really moving. What didn't do well? Within the financials itself, you had SBI and HDFC Life, which didn't do well. Let's pull up the contributories, and that's likely what we'll see as a reflection there as well. ITC, RIL, softish or flattish in terms of their contribution, and some of the financials and IT stocks really ruling the roost and holding markets, which were otherwise would have been at least 100 points or so lower. Now let's quickly pull up the Nifty mid-cap and small-cap indices, because that's where a bulk of the action today was. They've done well in trade. The mid-cap was up around 0.7%. The Nifty small-cap also up roughly 0.9%. So those two indices doing fairly well. The advanced decline reflecting that, and the advanced decline largely having a good balance in terms of advance to decline. There you go. So good breadth in terms of the market pretty much through the day. And that's where the positivity comes from. Let's pull up the sectoral heat map. We've already spoken about two key sectors, but outside of that, I want to talk about metals, because that one has done very well in trade this week as well, 0.9% on the back of all the gains it made yesterday. The BSE 500, if you can quickly look at some of the buzzing stocks in trade, those are all your buzzers. Linde India, some small acquisition, but nonetheless the stock flying away in trade, and those are some of the other ones. Home First and that entire clutch of housing financiers and Bajaj, Bajaj related stocks were also a buzz.
Now, in this scenario of outperformance by the markets, in which sectors does the bias lie? MK Investment Managers Manish Santhalia believes that banking and insurance are good picks.
Where do we hide in this sort of a market? I think the idea is to buy into moderate growth companies at moderate valuations rather than looking to buy the best growth companies at the highest valuation. In this way, one can actually reduce risk. Sectorally, you can hide in pockets like banks, financials. This includes insurance or health insurance or fintech or platform companies in the fintech space. You could find shelter in IT companies because IT companies would likely do well beginning second half of this year, continuing into the first half of next year. And obviously, rate cuts in the US is only going to help.
Now, the Sebi chairperson Madhvi Puri Buch and her husband Dhaval Buch have jointly denied the accusations which were made by all parties. They call them false and defamatory. Here's Charu from NDTV Profit with all the details. Hi, Charu. Charu, take us through the details of the statement that has come in from the two of them.
Hi, Nupur. So the couple, the Sebi chairperson Madhvi Puri Buch and her husband Dhaval Buch have come out with a comprehensive statement against the recent allegations made against them. And one of the most important points they made was that Madhvi Buch has never dealt with any file involving Agora, Mahindra Group, Pidilite, Dr. Reddy, Alvarez and Marsal, SemCorp, Vizu Leasing or ICICI Bank after joining Sebi. It was also mentioned that information about the rental income that was mentioned in many allegations against her is also that it was on off-market rate is also completely false, and that the IT returns of the couples, based on which again some accusations were put against the couple, were obtained illegally. It was also mentioned that the Sebi chairperson had nothing to do and completely recused herself from all the matters involving Dhaval Buch's consultancy. Now, this statement is a very comprehensive statement which point by point says that the allegations made against them are completely false and are not true in nature. However, this comes after a plethora of accusations by the opposition, Sebi's own employees, Subhash Chandra, and many other sectors. However, the couple has remained very strong in their standing, saying that the accusations are completely false and do not have a strong base.
All right, Charu, thank you very much for joining us and giving us those details. Now, Bajaj twins rose in trade ahead of Bajaj Housing's market debut on Monday. And Harsh Saita is back with us on this. He has been tracking the IPO closely. And Harsha, take us through a comparison of Bajaj Housing with its peers.
Well, Bajaj Housing Finance, that's the IPO everyone is talking about. We had Bajaj stocks buzzing on Friday, doing very well in trade, but outside of that, we had some housing financiers also do very, very well in trade. Now, I want to try and break this down a little bit further. It was a 6,560 crore IPO. Roughly 1,750 crore was the book size for Anchor, and therefore around 5,000 odd crore was the IPO size technically outside of Anchor book, which was oversubscribed 63 times. And therefore, you had a slush of liquidity coming into markets because you had 3 lakh crore plus in terms of bids which were made, which were rejected. And a lot of that traction was also seen both in Bajaj stocks, which is Bajaj Finance, Finserv, as well as Maharashtra Scooters. You also saw some of the home financiers do very well. Aptus, Aavas, Aadhar, Repco Homes, all of them did very, very well in trade today. Now, just in terms of valuations, now at 70 rupees, the price to book is 3.2 times, maybe 2.8, 2.9 times 1 year forward price to book. That may, of course, be compared to some of the other housing finances largely at par. But if this were to list at a solid premium, then likely some of the book value will get adjusted. For example, if it were to list at 100 or 110, the book value could be almost 5 times price to book. 5.5 times what Bajaj Finance trades at. So to wait and watch, of course, premium in the unlisted market is strong, and therefore it's going to be very interesting Monday, where Bajaj Housing as well as Bajaj names and housing finance names are concerned.
All right, thank you for that, Harsh. Now, passenger vehicle sales have dipped in August. The data is issued by the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers, also known as SIAM. I'm now joined by Puneet Javeri, who will take us through a detailed breakdown of this.
CM data for the month of August has been released, and we get you the latest data as well as the breakup within the automotive segment. Now, car sales are down roughly 1.7% compared to the same time last year or August 2023. For this month, it's come at roughly 3.52 lakh units versus 3.59 lakhs units in the same time last year. For two-wheelers specifically, it's been a 9% growth, which is a very positive result for the industry. It's come in at roughly about 17.11 lakh units sold in this particular month versus about 15.66 lakh units sold in August 2023. And on three-wheeler sales are up roughly about 7.7%, coming in at roughly 69,900 units versus 64,900 units in the same time last year. Now, if you look at, if you take the look at the data, the car sales have been affected due to tepid demand scenario as well as the high inventory build-up over the last 6 months, and that's leading to a lower growth for all companies such as Maruti, Mahindra as well as Tata Motors. For two-wheelers specifically, they continue their growth momentum. For Q1 also, they show strong growth of about 15 to 17%, and in Q2 also, that momentum seems to have sustained, and going forward as well, it's expected to have a good festival period for both these cars.
All right, thank you for that. Now, an Indigo flight from Mumbai to Phuket was diverted to Penang, Malaysia due to bad weather conditions. Now, passengers reported clogged washrooms, a lack of food and water supplies, and being stranded on the tarmac for over 3 hours. NDTV Profit's Anushi Vakaria was on the flight and has now sent us this report from Phuket after the plane finally landed there.
It was an exhausting day, and now we're finally there at the Phuket airport. Now, what was supposed to be the scenario was we were supposed to reach the Phuket airport by 10 a.m., 10 to 10:30 a.m., but it's almost 4:30 now, and we are finally here. A lot of reasons as to why this has happened. Firstly, extreme weather conditions, because of which the flight to Phuket was diverted to Malaysia, and we were landed there at Penang, in which Indigo had no prior connections. Also, if you have to see, other factors also included lower fuel costs. So refilling was another factor. Other than that, land charges, because we were in a place where Indigo had no earlier association, so that was also a scenario. Even the refreshments, if we have to see, that was served at the end. So a couple of, and toilets were also clogged, so a lot of setbacks which had taken place in today's night's 5 hours of wait in the Malaysian airport, and this is as to why finally we are here and what's the scenario which is building up for Indigo.
All right, now on to Boeing, where trouble is brewing once again. Machinists have voted to go on strike. This is another setback for the giant aircraft maker, whose reputation and finances have been battered and now faces a shutdown in production of its best-selling planes. The International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers confirmed that 94.6% of its members rejected a contract offering a 25% pay raise over 4 years, with 96% voting to strike. Now, this adds to Boeing's tough year, marked by a series of setbacks, including issues with its aircraft and space programs. Dozens have taken to the streets in protest as they march to a union hall near Boeing's 737 MAX plant in Renton, Washington. It's clear that Boeing has a long road ahead in resolving the situation. Well, on to some national news now. The Supreme Court has granted bail to Delhi's Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. The court, however, has put in some conditions on his bail, which has been granted. And Sunil Prabhu joins us with the details.
Yes, it's a big day for Arvind Kejriwal. He's finally going to be released from the Tihar jail, hopefully today, later this evening. This after the Supreme Court, the two-judge bench, Justice Surya Kant as well as Justice Buyan, made it clear that his bail plea should be accepted. Those conditions, of course, being the same as the Enforcement Directorate, where he will not be able to attend office. He will sign files only where it requires Lieutenant Governor's approval and other bail conditions. But, of course, there was a difference of opinion on the issue of the illegality of the arrest. Justice Surya Kant saying there are more questions than answers, but upholding it. Justice Buyan saying that the CBI should be uncaged as a parrot and allowed to act on its own, and to ensure, and really coming down and saying very categorically that this illegality of the arrest is not correct. So there's a difference of opinion. It will go to a larger bench. It's an academic exercise. At present, for Mr. Kejriwal, it's a big relief for him as well as his party. and it's in that backdrop that the Delhi government will now have its chief minister. There's been a war of words between the Aam Aadmi Party as well as the BJP and the Lieutenant Governor. Hopefully this will help to bring back governance ahead of the state elections, which are due early next year in Jan or February of the coming year.
Right, Sunil, thank you for those details. Now, in the Archie car case, the CBI has moved the Kolkata High Court and sought permission for Sanjay Roy's narco test. Now, the agitating junior doctors have also written to the President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Modi requesting their intervention in the matter. Junior doctors across Kolkata continue their protest demanding justice. West Bengal's Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee earlier said that she is willing to resign to restore calm in the state, whereas the Governor Ananda Bose has lashed out, declaring that he would socially boycott the Chief Minister and would continue only with his constitutional obligations towards her. Well, the death toll in the aftermath of a typhoon in Vietnam has climbed to 233. Rescue workers are continuing to recover more bodies from areas hit by landslides and flash floods. Floodwaters from the overflowing Red River in the capital, Hanoi, are beginning to recede. Typhoon Yagi made landfall Saturday, starting a week of heavy rains and triggering flash floods and landslides. Across Vietnam, 103 people are still listed as missing and more than 800 have been injured. Well, staying with international news, China has approved to raise its retirement age for the first time since 1978. Now, this move is aimed at countering the demographic headwinds and economic slowdown. Women will now retire between the ages of 55 and 58, while the retirement age for men has been increased from 60 to 63. This change would delay the public from accessing retirement benefits and relieve the pressure on the government to fund pensions for a rapidly aging population and a declining birth rate. Well, Ford Motors will restart its manufacturing plant in Chennai. Tamil Nadu's Chief Minister M.K. Stalin signed a letter of intent with K. Hart, the president of Ford International Markets Group, to welcome the car manufacturing company back in the state. With this export-oriented deal with Ford and several projects in the pipeline, is this the start of Tamil Nadu's revival? Well, moving on now, there are just about 4 days to go for Ganpati Visarjan in Mumbai, and the Municipal Corporation, the BMC, has made elaborate arrangements for the immersion of idols. Yash Tiwari gets us the report on preparations.
The biggest problem faced by the BMC every year is the question of how to dispose Ganpati idols in an environment-friendly manner. Since 2016, the BMC has set up artificial lakes in residential areas for Visarjan. Smaller idols get immersed in these ponds, reducing the number of idols that go into the sea.
To identify a place where we are going to start our artificial lake system, the place must be approachable by road first. It should be surrounded by a residential area, and there should be parking place available for the visitors to park their vehicles when they come for Visarjan. And lastly, there should be where we can get the depth of around 5 feet to 12 feet. So all these 4 conditions are met, then we decide that location for artificial lake. This year we have identified 204 locations where we are going to start the artificial lake.
The Bombay High Court had ordered on August 30th that the Central Pollution Control Board must ensure minimum environmental hazard. In compliance, BMC ordered all sculptures to avoid the use of plaster of Paris, one of the most harmful chemicals going into the sea. Instead, a special type of clay was given to the sculptors at a subsidized rate.
Before the Ganeshotsav starts, we started working on it from last 6 months only. When we started with giving permissions to idol makers, we called them meeting, invited them for a discussion with us. We made them aware about about the guidelines which are given by CPCB, and then we started providing them place for sculptor to set up their workshops, and we started providing them free clay, that is shadu clay we call it, and then we started providing them water facilities, electricity facilities, and once their idols are ready, we have started providing them marketing facilities as well. We have tied up with Zepto, Blinkit and Instamart, and also some big stores like Sarkar Bandar.
There are still some who use idols made of plaster of Paris. These idols are immersed in separate tanks for environment-friendly degradation.
We have created artificial pond over here because the idols are of POP also and of mud also. So you can see there are 6 ponds over here. Half we do it for POP and half we do it for the whichever is prepared by clay or mud. The reason is that POP idols are there. They are immersed later on in the ammonium bicarbonate solution. So after 48 hours that POP gets melt, and after the process we can use it as a fertilizer.
BMC has made a strong attempt to minimize environmental hazards as far as possible. Even the water in these artificial lakes is used to water plants in parks. Over the next 4 days, the BMC will be on high alert as the large idols of the city will go on the final ride to the sea.
We have installed 478 steel plates on our various places where Chowpatty is there. 43 German boats we have installed. 761 lifeguards are deputed. 48 motorboats are given to these lifeguards. We have 274 vehicles which will be carrying the Nirmalyas from the Visarjan Sthal.
More than 200 artificial lakes like this have been set in and across the city of Mumbai. 13,000 BMC officials are on the road to manage the Lord Ganesha immersions for the next 10 days. With camera person Radha, this is Yash Tiwari for NDTV Profit.
Well, on that note, it is a goodbye from all of us here on Profit 360. Thank you for joining us.